So there is a scam going on right now on this live stream. And you can see the telltale issues, which are, first of all, if you send 1 Ethereum, you will get 2 Ethereum back. If you send 1 Bitcoin, you'll get 4 Bitcoin back. So this is, of course, absolutely absurd. And you know, so you know this is a scam. So then you look for confirming issues or evidence. The comments are turned off. I just did a dislike, so they've turned that off. It's not showing how many people dislike this, but it's been going for, it says, 161 hours and all that. It's also, it's interesting that YouTube is setting this up as a highly probable event by allowing comments to be off, because people like myself who have heard about these scams understand that this is a scam, that all, for example, it makes absolutely no rational sense that you need to send an Ethereum to get 2 back. If they're giving away thousands of dollars to random strangers, all they need is your wallet information. They don't need any money from you. It's like, if I'm giving you dollars, why on earth do I need you to give me $1 so that I can give you $1? It's complete insanity. I can give you $1 without you giving me $1. So why am I asking you to give me $1 first? So now we go to the mechanism for reporting this to YouTube, because this is a crime. YouTube is being utilized to commit theft, and so the question, and to lie, and so the question is, how do we report it? And so that's where many people have a problem with YouTube. And so while YouTube is deplatforming legitimate voices, it doesn't have an ability for the public to stop a scam like this. And YouTube is preferring higher profits than real people who can respond to this. Because if I try and contact YouTube, how do I do that? They're not making that easy. So so we see there's nothing here. How do we, okay, finally I found it. All right. Now there is imminent physical harm, because people who spend their grocery monies So we'll report this. So may just be ignorance on my part. It's interesting that you see this. Now, this is interesting as well. But as you can see, I'm not seeing what this is. I'm seeing what this is. I'm wondering if this is also a fudged YouTube video. Let's go over here.
Welcome.
Aha. So YouTube is making the same mistake. All right.
So proof of stake does inherently.
So you can see part of the problem is there's only one video. It's not a long established
Deciding how much to pay.
channel. You know, it's of course not a raffle because if it was a raffle, you'd have to buy a ticket, and there'd have to be more people, you know, giving more money for that. So anyway, this is an active crime scene, and it'd be interesting to see how long YouTube will take to respond to a situation where I've stated that imminent physical harm is likely. Because YouTube is a vehicle for that. And so let's see how long YouTube takes. So it's worth noting a couple of things that you know, are important. One is if I'm scammed as a U.S. citizen on a site produced by, you know, or facilitated by YouTube, where do I report that to make that public knowledge so that the full cost of scamming is measured? And how does my demographic? Now, this would probably, you know, if someone is elderly or a child, or is mentally ill, or has bought into the delusions of free money. Everyone can get rich with this and that. All of this comes from financial illiteracy, and so that's obviously ties back to being able to go through high school and learn very little about money in our culture, which is an odd phenomena. But where does feedback like this end up, so that teachers see when this stuff doesn't get covered? I mean, this would be a very useful class subject in school. Scamming, how it occurs, and how to avoid it. I don't think any teenager would skip that subject in high school. And it's more useful than algebra in many ways. But it's going to be someone with relatively little experience and high levels of incompetence that get scammed by this. In other words, the most vulnerable people in our culture, because the exact same people have a hard time making money and taking care of themselves, and so that's a problem. And so we're really looking at protecting the most vulnerable people in our culture. And how do we do that? Now, education is the most important part of that. It's just that we don't educate people on the things that actually matter in school. I don't learn to start a business in high school. That would be good education. I don't learn to avoid scams in high school. That would be good education. I don't learn to drive a car. That would be good education. And it's going to be the poorest, most marginalized students who cannot learn what they really need to learn outside of school that have the real problem. Someone whose parent is in prison and whose other parent is an addict is not going to learn to drive at home, which is all the more reason that someone with such a dim outlook should be taught to drive at school. Someone with uneducated parents is not going to learn to avoid scams, which is all the reason. But they need to avoid scams because they can't afford to be scammed. And so it is YouTube's most vulnerable and uneducated clients. The people watching this are YouTube's clients being sold advertisements that are going to get hit with this scam. And we have not protected them with education. Otherwise, YouTube's would not be necessary and as a police. And YouTube has not protected them. YouTube has some of the best coders on the planet that are busily spending hours trying to get people to engage and spend more of their life on YouTube. But YouTube is not asking those coders to detect these scams. For example, a screen text capture can easily calculate the roughly 100 ways that this scam can be presented and block the channel. It's a very simple algorithm. Any new channel that does not have at least 10 videos can be the first on the first criteria of a red flag for this type of scam. Secondly, comments are turned off. Second red flag that can escalate it 100 times. And then you just do text reading. Anything that has crypto related, again, prioritize it. And then finally, do screenwriting, do detailed analysis of the images and the text and the links. A bot can be doing this 24/7 and could have shut this down automatically. This has been going for 9 hours. So this is gross ethical negligence on YouTube's part that basically says that the most vulnerable people in its audience are fair gamed for scammers, because if you ask YouTube to open its books on exactly how much they're spending on scams and how they're going about it, and take suggestions rather than sit in black box holes and avoid, like I can't interview someone at YouTube about this. No one who is genuinely concerned about this regular occurrence on YouTube is going to hide their protocol. It's going to hide their process. It can also do an algorithm. Like, this is the first time in my entire career on YouTube, meaning in well over 1,000 hours of time as a YouTube customer, because I buy YouTube Red to avoid ads. As a YouTube customer, I have never reported a site in 1,000 hours. And I've just reported one. Now, the algorithm that can figure out how to send you all kinds of videos that can make billions in advertisements, that algorithm can be developed so that it prioritizes someone like myself using a red flag and reporting an imminent danger. That can easily be done. It takes YouTube can have this algorithm up in less than a week. It could have had it up years ago. Of course, you prioritize what someone reports when they only report, one thing in 5 years, over someone who reports 3 things a day, many of which turn out to be false. Again, YouTube has access to the best coders on the planet. And so what we're looking at is conscientiousness here. We're not looking at competence. YouTube has gone to great lengths to make it hard to contact them and anonymize, and insulate and isolate its employees. That's a business decision because YouTube saves money by hiring less people, and it also makes it more comfortable for those few people not to protest and resign if the coders are spent isolating YouTube staff from feedback rather than responding to the problems for YouTube customers. So it'd be interesting to see how many people have lost grocery money just while we've been waiting here. I think it's obvious that if this has been going on for 9 hours and YouTube will not respond, like if this was a school shooting that was being facilitated on YouTube, how many students would be dead before YouTube, doesn't YouTube think to forward this to 911? An active theft is in progress, and that's actually an interesting thing to, I'm going to call the police locally and see how they deal with this, because when you have a dysfunctional culture, And we've seen we've got dysfunctional education, we've got dysfunctional YouTube response. Everyone sits in their little box and the wrong thing happens day after day, with everyone saying that's not my problem. That's how schizophrenia works. It's one part doesn't talk to the other part of an interconnected whole. So we're calling 911. Police.
Okay, to what address?
It's not an address, it's a YouTube crime.
It's a what?
A YouTube crime. A crime is going on YouTube right now.
Okay, what's going on?
A live stream is soliciting cryptocurrency under false pretenses and stealing it, and YouTube isn't responding.
Okay. Hold on one moment, okay?
Okay.
Thank you for holding. Is it something that's been happening to you? Are they taking cryptocurrency from you?
They're trying to. They've taken it from multiple people so far. It's a live stream happening right now, and I've reported it to YouTube. It's been going on for 9 hours, and I've reported it as an immediate threat, and it's been 23 minutes, and YouTube is obviously...
Okay, I can have an officer contact you. What is your address?
Well, I think someone needs to contact YouTube, because YouTube...
Well, they have to start with you because you have to explain what's happening.
Ah, okay.
So let me get your information. What is your address?
It's 19 Maybeck Street.
Do you have an apartment or unit number?
No, it's a house.
Okay.
And I can get you the link to the crime if there's anyone I can email it to.
So you said they're trying to take cryptocurrency from you?
Yes.
And what is your name?
Dane. Dane Rose.
And Dane, what's the best phone number that they can call you back at?
This number is fine.
What is this one?
415-455-9161.
Okay. Okay, I will have an officer give you a call back. He's going to explain what's going on, and then you guys can go from there, okay?
And is there anyone I can email this to?
When you talk to the officer, you'll be able to just work with them in that respect. But I don't have anybody. I need to have somebody talk to you first, so then they can just decide how they're going to proceed.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
So, one of the things I think that's important, I guess YouTube, well, I'm not sure if YouTube should be able to track how many people click this link. And then there will be a statistic of how many people that click this link because they are suspecting a scam versus people who are innocent. Because anyone who actually believes this and clicks the link, so there's going to be a percentage. It may be 10%, it may be 15%. That's what we can learn from effective data gathering. Anyone who clicks on this link because they believe it is going to send money, and that's the percentage, which will allow for the theft to be measured. So let's see. So it's my belief that YouTube needs to be criminally negligent and complicit in the murders of anyone who is murdered after someone says someone is in real danger, and it takes YouTube hours to reply. You know, this is a thing that can have a profound impact on a person's life. Someone can commit suicide. This happens in the United States. It's not clear how much is from crypto, but more people commit suicide in the United States than die in car accidents. And when that happens, what is the response? It's not clear exactly how many people in the United States commit suicide because they lost their crypto in a scam. However, we know we know from a recent Robinhood issue where someone committed suicide because they thought they owed Robinhood $700,000 because of a technical glitch. They should be sued because the 1929 stock exchange, where people jumped out of buildings because they rapidly lost their money, tells us that in a capitalist culture where people depend on money to survive and are shamed and viewed as losers for not having money, that if they rapidly lose survival money, a certain number of people will consider, and then some of those will actually kill themselves. So scams like this are important, and we'll hang on here and see how long it takes the police to respond to an act of theft. See, this is a multiple theft, and this is also bringing up some of the problem. Neither Trump nor Biden sent out a video talking about how a citizen is supposed to respond to this. It would be nice in an intelligent culture to get a letter by email, so as to save trees and paper, yearly from the president of one's country saying these are the things that are causing our people the most suffering in the past 12 months, and these are the things that you can do to minimize them. It seems like an intelligent thing to do if you care about your people. But these criminals are stealing from multiple people at the same time. So this is much more damaging than a car theft, a single car theft, or a gunpoint where someone's holding me up to take $100, let's have $100. This type of thing, particularly, see, it's not clear if a scammer can scam YouTube to fudge these numbers. Like 199,000 people are watching now. That's an enormous amount. Ah. This is good. Very good. Very good. Excellent. I'm pleasantly surprised. Very good. So anyway, let's see. We've got Anonymous showing up on the phone. Let's see if this is the police. Hello, Dane speaking. Yeah. I wanted to know, how do you respond to a YouTube crime when you can't get in touch with YouTube? Yeah. So first of all, I've been watching YouTube scam dynamics over the past few months, and so I've watched several videos talking about how people are being scammed out of Bitcoin online and how it works. And so when I saw a video saying this is how they say send us 1 Bitcoin and we'll send you 2 Bitcoins. And so I saw that video. I saw it was been playing on YouTube for 9 hours and had 190,000 subscribers, watching the video. There's going to be about 5% of those that are believing it and actually sending them some of their money. And so, it took around 5 or 10 minutes to find how to report the video as flawed, even though it's been going on for 9 hours. And then I did so after confirming and following the link. They asked me to send them crypto. And so, having watched the video, yeah. I stopped at the point where I'm supposed to enter in because I've watched the videos saying this is illegal theft, and so I did not send any money in. But I'm worried about those who have not been educated on the scam video.
Have a victim, and right now, I agree with you that there are probably several individuals out there that are sending Bitcoin or other, whatever they're asking for to them. That without a victim, there's not much that we can do. We don't have any direct contact with YouTube, and if you've reported it, you've kind of actually done as much as anybody else can do. Do you know what channel is it under?
It's called watch V = 7 - 7 RJCA CSHS.
And what is the channel? That's the actual channel, the YouTube channel?
It's called Ethereum Official Channel. And the thing that concerns me is that these scams have been going on for months, and I can now spot the scam in less than 5 seconds because, first of all, it's a live stream. Secondly, they turn off all comments. Thirdly, there's only one video because they've just started the channel. You click on the channel and any decent official channel has dozens of videos, not just one.
Okay.
And then they're asking for you to send the money and promising to send money double back. So this is a predictable scam. And my concern is YouTube hires the best coders in the world trying to figure out how to sell me more ads. But those coders can, in a week, look at just what I told you. They can do text detection on their images to say, to look for keywords like free and double your Bitcoin, and they can flag that themselves. They can also flag any video that's dealing with crypto where there's only one video. The first video is a live stream, and they can bring that to their own tech so that it doesn't take 9 hours of people being stolen from all around the country.
Have you followed the press? Has anybody sent anything yet?
What's that? Well, I could send them just to be a victim if that's your criteria, but I mean, I could send them.
It wouldn't help us because we still can't. We don't have any emergency contact at YouTube to shut down channels. So please don't do that. Number one, I'm just wondering if you check the Bitcoin address if they've gotten anybody to send them anything.
I don't know how to do that. That is a good thing. I know that statistically, if you've got 160,000 people watching for 9 hours, that there have been multiple crimes committed. I don't know the exact. We'd have to look at past crimes of similar numbers to see how many people per thousand send money when told this particular lie, because there's case history around it. And then you're right that we could see how many people sent to this particular Ethereum and Bitcoin address. My concern is that the combination of YouTube policies and police policies are making multiple thefts in real time less important than if someone stole $100 or ran off with my bicycle. Because if you can't do anything, while perhaps thousands of Americans are losing, a lot of money, but you can do something about a bicycle, something needs to shift between, YouTube and the police so that what actually is stealing the most money from Americans gets attention.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with you on principle. I think that, that mantra, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. People need to really remember that. In terms of everything, though, until I have a victim, there's not much I can do because I can't. YouTube's in charge of their own platform, so I'm kind of, hands tied in terms of everything. The best thing we can do is report them like you did, and then that's kind of it.
Now, my view is that YouTube is behaving irresponsibly by making it, it's YouTube has billions of dollars. They can have a phone operator if they want to. I answer my calls. I'm a one-person operation. If YouTube can't manage to answer its telephone, it's because of willful, in this case, criminal negligence. It's not because they lack money or don't have a telephone. And so if you know that these scams are going on month after month and defrauding your clients of in total millions of dollars, you have to have a telephone or be shut down. And I wonder, where do the police have influence on saying, hey, YouTube, we're not going to look kindly on call after call if you won't even give us a phone number. You're not doing your part to stop crime.
Well, that's a good question for Securities and Exchange Commission.
So the Securities and Exchange Commission is.
Yeah, they put one, and then who else would take scams? Okay, hold on one second. Let's see. The Federal Trade Commission also does a lot of work with scams and companies, but it's one of those things where I can only encourage you not to use YouTube if you don't agree with their policies. Every time you log on, they're generating ad dollars with people being on there. So if you don't like their business practices, I recommend you choose not to use them, but that's obviously up to you.
Well, I don't think that's a good overall effect if you have a monopoly that has a lot of the better information. You could say the same thing to a grocer's if you've got food poisoning because they're not washing their hands. Just don't shop for food because you don't like their policy.
Why would they go somewhere else?
Right, and the trouble is YouTube is a monopoly. If you want to find information about most repairs and stuff, YouTube is a monopoly. There's nowhere else to go. So if you're the only grocery in town and you refuse to wash your hands, and 1/10 of your people are getting sick, the issue is, how is your government allowing this to be a chronic problem? And so,
yeah. I mean, I don't think it's 1/10, but I think that the internet's a wild, wild place, and I'd recommend or encourage you to support any open source software developers that are developing things that are counter to, the data aggregators of Google and Facebook and Instagram and all that. I think that the change is only going to come when a market develops for alternatives, and until then, we're kind of all, unfortunately, at the mercy, or we let the government work at its pace to regulate monopolies as they see fit. That's kind of, unfortunately, where we're at, and I know they're working towards it, so that's up to them.
Right. And do you know how, do you know if I want to, because I recorded this whole thing in order to be able to, I'll actually put the video on YouTube about, this is a problem for YouTube. But do you know who I would contact? Do you have a phone number, anything for the SEC or FTC?
FTC, they do online, it looks like, at usa.gov/stop-scams-fraud.
Okay.
So if I just Googled online scam government, and the first one was the FTC.
Great. All right. Then this would be a great place to send the video. And right. And do you know if they have any emergency or quick response, or if they, if that just takes months? Because these scams will continue as long as they are tolerated for 9-hour stretches and are very profitable for the scammers.
They don't. They unfortunately work at the government pace as well. So,
I see.
You can put in comments and keep reporting it, and I think that's the best way to do it.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Have a good
Bye. So in this environment, I think, so apparently it'll take weeks or whatever for the FTC. We can submit this video, but it's going to take, scamming happens when it's easier to make money scamming and there's almost no risk. This is very often an operative out of the country. So someone is stealing money from Americans, going offshore, and no one, is prioritizing, the protection of American capital, and that's unfortunate. When the police do not have a direct line to YouTube, that's unfortunate. When YouTube doesn't provide an emergency, response, that's unfortunate. And I'm guessing that for this to, because it looks like, I'm guessing that YouTube responded because I said physical harm. Now, the reason I said physical harm is there is a very direct connection between loss of financial security and harm. That's one reason. But the other reason was because I've listened to Steve Wozniak and others on television talk about massive scams being done in their name and taking months for YouTube to take down the videos. And so what Wozniak had told me through that interview was that YouTube is not prioritizing financial threats and scams. So I wondered if they would prioritize human life. And that may be why this got taken down. In other words, for 9 hours, people have been losing their money. And of course, some of them that directly, if they can't buy their cancer medicine, is that a threat to human life? Of course it is. But if they reported just a financial scam or suspicious activity, and YouTube takes, a week to deal with that, but will respond to human life threats in 10 minutes, that's also an important thing to be, aware of when trying to stop a theft in motion, because basically I think we need, more responsibility for all of the billions being made on YouTube to actually go to protect its clients.